The Bulldog broadcast runs on the Field of 68 Media Network as this crazy topsy-turvy college basketball season, I guess you could say, rolls on, sputters on, stalls and restarts. You're driving a stick shift with a car and you pop the clutch and blow the transmission. Whatever it is, it's an interesting time of year in college basketball. My fellow analyst on the color side for the regional games for the Zags, Richard Fox, here to join me, break it down. Foxy, appreciate you joining. How's everything?
Good, man. Can't complain. Happy New Year, buddy.
Yeah, same to you. So both of our games got popped on the first weekend of WCC play. That was at USD and at LMU. The first game at home, USF got popped. It looks like Pepperdine's good to go. Did you do any prep for those first three games, or are you just in waiting mode right now?
No, I mean, we started getting a pretty good idea what was it early that week that there may be an issue, and then I think by Tuesday it was canceled. So, no, I mean, no prep, but certainly be ready for Pepperdine. It's just been interesting, as you said in the open, just across the country. It's impacting everybody, but it certainly feels a little bit more acute here on the West Coast when you look at what's happened to the Pac-12 and in the WCC.
It's kind of, and I'd say this late in light of everything that's going on. It's almost comical when you look at some of those game schedule sheets and it's postpone.
Right.
When you look at it as a broadcaster, because I know you keep a great look at what's going on the West Coast, what does your eye gravitate to first? Is it Gonzaga? Is it the WCC? Is it the Pac-12? Or just where does your eyes go to first?
Well, I mean, I live in Spokane, and, obviously with the history of GU, that's going to be kind of what I track most closely. But, with Tommy Lloyd down in Arizona now, I'm certainly watching more Pac-12 games than I might have previously. So, I mean, look, everyone, that's the hard thing about this is, it's a legitimate concern, the pandemic, but it's not as if you've got necessarily a uniform approach, league by league or even institution by institution on what they want to do or how they want to navigate it. And so I think that inconsistency or that variable makes it even harder than it might have been otherwise. So I'm interested to see. It may not even be an issue moving forward. The entire WCC's effectively worked through it here the last 2 weeks, maybe into next. I think your hope is that your guys and your staff can kind of weather this through March. So maybe it's not as bad a thing to have it happen now versus if this was something everyone was dealing with in mid-February or early March.
Yeah, fingers crossed that college basketball, in particular, the WCC, gets through this in the next 2 weeks or so, and then we're done.
Right.
We can finish off the season as hoped and planned, and as everybody's been looking forward to. Let's look at Gonzaga's non-conference. I graded out as about a B+. I thought there was a tremendous amount of growth with the young guys. I thought there was, an opportunity maybe to be undefeated. But when you look at the gauntlet of the schedule they had, 5 top 25 teams, that's asking a lot, even of the most fanatical fans, to expect Gonzaga to have been undefeated. What did you see?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I mean, you had a chance to win both those games you lost. Duke, that was as good a regular season game as you're going to see. Reminded me a little bit of or a lot of it about the Maui game that Gonzaga played against Duke. Just how high a level it was, and you're going to lose. You're going to lose some games. I'm not sure there's much to take away from that game other than down the stretch, the execution wasn't maybe what we've seen previously the last few years, but that's a function of, to your point, having some younger guys on the floor maybe, but also some guys in Nemhard and Timmy in particular that are playing a more outsized role than they had to last year. You've got to, there's a muscle memory component to playing in those moments with that level of responsibility, and you know that better than most. It's a little easier when you're a secondary guy or supporting guy in those moments in a way, because the burden's not on you nearly as much. And I think that was a great opportunity for both those guys in particular to kind of feel that weight a little bit, if that makes sense. and work through that. And then I thought Alabama, I just thought they had a bad game. I don't think they played particularly well. And Alabama's tough. They shoot the ball really well. They spread you out. They're a unique style to get ready for. But as we've talked about in our broadcast, I think the staff has done a good job with their scheduling, even with some of these teams that maybe casual fans don't know who they are. Their style of play, they've seen a lot of different styles of play in the non-conference, and there's real value as you fast forward to the conference, but certainly into March, you've got some tape as a staff to say, hey, remember back in December or November, we played against whoever it may have been. They played a similar style to who we're playing on Thursday in the Sweet 16. So, I thought all in all it was good. I think the young guys are certainly growing. Hickman in particular in that backcourt is really steady. He's a nice second ball handler. Bolton's been tremendous. I think you and I both thought he'd be pretty turnkey given what he's done. And, Watson's really grown into what he is now, which is a highly reliable guy off the bench. And I think Holmgren's been everything that people wanted him to be, and maybe a little bit more defensively.
I love how you talked about the muscle memory of being in big moments and being able to kind of just do it without thinking, perform without thinking. You as a big, that would be, your angles on a ball screen. It would be your timing of a duck in. It would be checking off really quick to see, if your guy's crashing the glass or not on the offensive end. When you look at the growth of let's just talk the three bigs, because I think Timmy, everybody knows he's all-American level player, but share with me what you see with the growth of Ben Gregg, Caden Perry, but then also Chet Holmgren, because I think we've seen growth in him more so maybe than a lot of people would expect, because they thought it was probably a finished product, which it's not.
Yeah, well, look, for the two young guys, Gregg and Perry, I think it's pretty similar to what Harris and Strother had to deal with last year, which was, they've got enough talent to contribute on most teams, but they're also playing against, two pros in Timmy and Holmgren and a high level, college big and Watson. They're not going to get a lot of opportunity, but when they have been able to play, you can see the skill level for Gregg. He's obviously a competitive kid. He's going to have to get better defensively, but most young guys do, regardless of position. And, as he gets older, he's going to get stronger. And I think that's something that we've seen defensively in the limited amount of time he's played, is sometimes he gets moved around in a way that we just won't see that probably even in 12 months, certainly 24 months. Perry's kind of, he's about as explosive a big as I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of them. He plays with a lot of energy. Clearly, he looks like he wants to be good, but he just doesn't know what he's doing yet. And I don't mean that in a negative way. He clearly is kind of drinking out of a fire hose at the moment. and that's, there's thrown a lot at him. And I think he's more, where's he going to be in a couple years? And I think his upside is, right around where Brandon Clark ended up, quite frankly, with his explosiveness. And he's bigger than Brandon was. But has a lot of the same attributes that Brandon did. I think for Anton, the biggest difference, at least from my perspective, is his consistency. I think that was a challenge for Anton. It was, and that's a function of he had some injuries, and the teams he's been on have all been really, really good. And so, part of becoming consistent is being able to play consistently and kind of figuring out what my role is and how I'm going to be successful. I think he's figured that out. I mean, availability and dependability are really underrated. He's both now. He's available every night and he's dependable. You can go in any game and what Anton's going to give you. I'm not sure we would have said that going into the year. And I think that's been his growth. And, he's got a great mix of, picking his spots offensively. They don't have to call a play for him, but he might chip in, 8, 12, 14 points, and he's always going to rebound and compete defensively. I think he's had as good of improvement. He and Strother probably have made the biggest jump that I've seen year over year.
Yeah, and those two guys, what I've seen from Watson and Strother is just comfort level. You talked about the muscle memory. They just look like they're not looking over their shoulder, thinking they might get pulled. Or for
Sure.
Strother, when you know you're playing 2 minutes, 3 minutes at the end of the game, and you don't want to look at the box score afterwards and see all zeros across
Right.
your name, you try to get something done in a hurry, and a lot of times that backfires on you. Before we move on to the next topic, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at BetRivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with BetRivers yet, now's the time because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With basketball season tipping off, get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. When you look at the WCC right now, and you and I and Greg on our regional broadcast, we've got a friendly banter back and forth. I continue to say the WCC is much improved. It hasn't proven it out yet, but it's looking like that might be the case this year. Now I can see your kind of look of, all right, where are we going with this?
I'm just thinking about our conversations. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not as anti WCC as Greg is at times. But when you look at it, who are you most looking forward to seeing if they're for real this year? Because right now there's 4 teams in the top 40 of Ken Palm and net in the league. And if that holds true,
Yeah.
that's 4 teams in the NCAA tournament. Which one are you still kind of on the fence about and really want to see them get through the start at least of conference play?
Well, I mean, look, what is it? Lenardi has 4 WCC teams in right now. I can't remember that happening since I've been around the league. It's not that the league hasn't gotten better. You know, I'll answer your question, but I think part of it is Gonzaga every year makes this these jumps that aren't really reasonable for most other programs in the country. It's usually more incremental, and I think the league has done that, but Gonzaga just continues to outpace that growth every year, at least the last 5 or 6. And so I think that's why, even though Gonzaga continues to kind of run through the league most years, it's not necessarily the league is not as good as people think it is. It's just Gonzaga's better, that much better than the league. I'm really interested to see San Francisco. I mean, they've obviously I'm disappointed the game's not happening tomorrow night. That's a game I hope that they're able to reschedule because I do think they're good. But I'd like to see them up against GU. And it's not so much whether or not they win or lose the game, but just how they compete, and how they can play the Zags. And, I've got a lot of confidence in Bennett at St. Mary's, whether he's bringing everybody back or he's got to kind of retool the roster. He's such a good coach. They're going to make your life difficult. And they look to be pretty solid this year. They're not as athletic as Gonzaga, certainly, but nobody is. And I've seen BYU play more than the other 2, and they look awfully tough. Now, I believe they've had some injuries, too, that doesn't help them. But, all 3 of those teams are good. And Santa Clara, quite frankly, what are they, 10-5? They're a program that, I think everybody else in the league needs to look at and tip their hat to, because they've really spent a lot of money to try to improve athletics generally, but basketball specifically. That's a program that should be good year in and year out.
Yeah, they've got a kind of up and down history, but the good points of their history is very good, with Steve Nash quickly coming to mind. When you look back at your college career, you started at Colorado, you moved on to Gonzaga, so you've played for 2 different head coaches. First at Colorado, then at GU for Coach Few early in his career. When you look at this group of WCC coaches, and you get a chance to talk to quite a bit of them with our prep for broadcast, is there one coach in the WCC that you would have wanted to play for if it weren't for Mark Few?
Yeah, probably Mark Pope. I would love to play for a guy who played in the post. How often does that happen? I mean, it's a big guy. It's pretty uncommon. You don't see a lot of 6'10" guys roaming the sidelines, but I think the league's always had, for the most part, high level coaching. You just look through the years, it's been just good and consistent. We don't have the same rate of turnover as you see in bigger conferences. And I think that consistency, Gonzaga certainly kind of leads the league in that, and St. Mary's is right there with how long Bennett's been there. But when you're able to stay in the same place for a while and just take those incremental steps, and you're not as worried as you would be in a larger conference about, what have we done in the tournaments? You're able to have a longer runway. I think that we see that in the league, and I think the coaching, for the most part, across the board is good.
Yeah, there's some really good coaches in this league, and I don't disagree with you. I think Mark Pope would be a fun coach to play for as a guard as well, because he gives a lot of freedom. But right. I understand the post affinity. You and I usually have that friendly back and forth. You focus on bigs and the positives they're doing. I focus on the guards. So, well, Richard, I know you got a busy work day getting the new year off right for you and your business ventures. But appreciate you joining, spending some time with me on the Bulldog broadcast, and look forward to calling some more games if they don't get postponed with yourself and Heister.
I hope to see you Saturday, buddy. Anytime.
All right. Take care.